So I saw this, obviously whenever I don't stream, that's when stuff happens. But riots erupt in Dublin after kids are stabbed by what was he, Algerian? I don't know. Let's find out. Anti-immigrant protesters who rampaged through central Dublin set fire to vehicles and loot stores after 3 young children were stabbed. Police blame far-right agitators. A man in his 50s was arrested, police said, adding they were not looking for any other suspect. He remains in serious condition. This article's trash. This gives me nothing. Yeah, it was a real riot, by the way, like a real one. An enormous one. The stabber lived in Ireland for 20 years. Yeah, this is the thing, okay? This always happens whenever there's some gigantic far-right riot after a member of a minority group does something, okay? It doesn't actually matter whether or not they're an immigrant. It's always, always, always a race thing. If you're an immigrant, if you've lived in this country for 20 years, you've been here for 20 years, man. There are people who were born here who are adults who have lived here for less than 20 years. It doesn't matter, It's always a race thing. It's like, how many times have we seen incidents of like, get these immigrants out of our country, and it turns out that person was born here? Like, this has been a thing for a long time. Hold on. Disgusting. Like a proper riot.
34 people were arrested in a riot in the city's historic center overnight.
Dude, it's literally, it's like people are like, oh, dude, black people, BLM riot. And the far right gets together. It's like, all right, we'll show them how to do a riot. And then they act exactly the same, except a million times worse, because they're rioting over what? The existence of Algerian people? Like, Irish lives matter. Another glorious cultural victory for America. No matter what's happening all over the world, okay? All of it is framed through American political discourse. Le wokism.
We have a complete lunatic hooligan faction driven by far-right ideology.
Sparking the chaos, several stabbings earlier in the day of 3 young children and a woman who tried to stop their attacker.
It was horrendous, and the children screaming and the women screaming.
The sole person of interest, a man in his 40s, an Irish national only for about half that time.
Only half. Dude, only half. Only an Irish national for half of the time that he's been alive. Oh, basically he just hopped off the boat yesterday. Wow.
The same anti-immigration wave delivered a surprise landslide win this week for anti-Islam politician Geert Wilders in the Netherlands.
People expect our...
I still can't believe how this guy looks. I can't. Who's the actor that I'm thinking of right now? Who's the actor that I'm thinking of right now? He looks like the guy. Yeah, and he has a dead bird on his head. Christopher Walken, that's it. He looks like Christopher Walken playing a up dude.
Agenda of hope, tougher asylum and immigration policy.
Yeah, basically, Ireland has a lot of immigrants, and of course, racists being what they are, it's like, you get guys like this. I love it when people be like this. I love to show up to the protests with my "I am very angry" sign. Anyway, you've got the standard people being upsetty spaghetti about there being immigrants. One immigrant 20 years ago does a bad thing, a very bad thing. And they do a riot. Even before the violence, the Taoiseach, I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce that correctly, Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar was saying that Ireland must slow the flow of refugees from Ukraine and elsewhere, but most people here are likely to want to keep a common sense perspective. The issues associated with very recent immigration pale in insignificance compared to the problems posed by almost 2 centuries of emigration. Yeah, one of the reasons, hold on, Ireland population. One of the reasons why Ireland has historically been very keen on immigration is because this is a population graph for the Republic of Ireland from 1821 to 2011. And you can tell when the Irish potato famine happened. So you might notice that Ireland's population has never recovered to what it was like 150 years ago before the genocide. Yeah, not a famine. Well, I mean, it is a famine, but like deliberate, it's like, yeah. A little bit of genocide, whatever, whatever, a little goofy goober moment. Anyway, Ireland has been pretty keen on immigration. My impression of which was largely because there's a gigantic like population void in the country that they've been looking to fill up, which is true. So, you know, and that's not even the first genocide. Yeah, look, the Irish have a lot of very legitimate claims to persecution. Okay, like okay, I'm gonna say it because I'm red pilled and Chad pilled. Okay, I don't think lighting, Jesus, I don't think that looting, generally speaking, is like a phenomenal protest tactic, and I don't think it's like gonna win you any political favors. However, when people do looting in like I don't know BLM protests or whatever, I kind of get it. Your neighborhood is deprived. You've been subject to so much historical economic inequality. It's like you're taking reparations from your local Walmart. Is that real? Is that true? Is that actually good logic? No, it's not. I don't really care that much, you know, as crimes against Walmart go. It's probably not, it doesn't math out that well, but at least there's something there. There is math there. What is the math here? What is the math of like we Irish Ireland for Irish people? Oh, I am very angry. No more immigrants. Footlocker. What are you doing? Like what's the through line here? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Irish PM pledges to modernize laws against hatred after Dublin riots. 34 people arrested. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this because I'm not a cuck bitch European who believes in hate speech laws, maybe hate crime laws, whatever. I don't know. I'm America. In addition to that, however, I gotta say, optics-wise, this is a pretty huge L for the far right. Also, just so I can take the centrist position on this, also don't stab 3 5-year-olds. Okay, that's my centrist position, okay? Don't stab 3 5-year-olds, and also don't be a far-right anti-immigration lunatic. Okay. Think I there goes my weekend plans. Yeah. I know, it's tough, Can we get your thoughts on the Irish communists' response to this? Oh no. Oh no, no one's ever asked me a question like that unless I'm about to learn something I don't like. Oh no. Why? Oh my god. Is this actually like a Irish communist group, or is this just a random Twitter account? This is the world anti-imperialist, but I don't think this is Ireland specific. I guess we can look at it anyway. Rioting broke out in Dublin yesterday. Angry workers came to the streets and battled police. The precipitation caused their anger was the stabbing of $2 children, which Irish police said does not have a terrorist motive. Whatever the truth of that incident, a few things are immediately apparent. 1, the poorest sections of the entire European working class are increasingly angry. 2, the real underlying cause of their anger is their deepening poverty and alienation from society. 3, when the workers turn onto the streets, they are a force capable of showing real power. 4, class consciousness among the mass of European workers is, however, very low, and leadership is non-existent. Right. This is why I'm a postmodernist. Okay, holy shit, cramming every problem into your Marxist class analysis shaped box. Like me looking at the brown shirts and saying this. Anyway, they got ratioed for it, which is what matters. No, it's not the actual Irish Communist Party. It's just, you know, I admire and support communists' ongoing effort to embarrass themselves and ruin every potential opportunity they could have to get people on their side and mobilize against fascists. People are saying it's the British commies. It's the Communist Party of Great Britain. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard they've been pretty bad for a while. Harris said some of the rioters have been radicalized online. Really? Others were known to police. There are no far-right parties or politicians elected to parliament, but small anti-immigrant protests have grown in the last year. The government is reviewing security around parliament after a recent protest trapped lawmakers inside. They have like a little miniature January 6th, and I didn't even know it. Police would not comment on the nationality of the detained man. If he's been in Ireland for 20 years, he's Irish. Whatever. Ireland and the fury of the cancelled. What? So they're lunatics. The protesters, rioters, and looters who hit the streets of Dublin last night are people who are severely mentally ill, which is how my dictionary defines a lunatic. That's according to Garda Commissioner Drew Harris. The violent mob that rocked Dublin yesterday in response to the mass stabbing of 4 people, including 3 kids, are a, quote, complete lunatic hooligan faction driven by far-right ideology. Ireland's top cop raged on TV. Stop your Googling, park your analysis. We now know why hundreds descended on central Dublin because they're madmen and fascists. True. This is the most, like, petulant child, hands crammed in your pockets while you're sneering at the ground ass opening in the universe, dude. Holy shit. All right. Oh, so those people, they went out there, so they're just crazy. So they're just crazy. Like, Jesus Christ. So this is just, so it's called Ireland and the Fury of the Cancelled. So is this just some like 2016 era narrative being funneled through a modern event? Like, man, these guys were canceled because they just wanted to not have as many immigrants and they were angry and canceled. And because they were canceled, that made them act the way they did, which was good because they were canceled. Even to me, someone who favors liberal immigration policies, it's clear there are legitimate questions about the Irish elite's immigration drive. Look at the author of this article. Why would you... Shut up. Political writer and columnist. Oh, this is the main writer for Spiked. Yeah, I don't know this guy. He's got something called The Brendan O'Neill Show, which I guess is a podcast. First of all, you have the normalization of savagery right underneath him defending the people who rioted and like burnt and looted stuff and so on. The March for Palestine was a far-right march. Greta Thunberg and Gen Z's irrational hatred for Israel, Al-Shifa Hospital and the pathological distrust of Israel, the absolution of Hamas, racism in the mask of anti-imperialism, with a Free Palestine logo, and accusing Israel of genocide is despicable doublethink. Really shows you the kind of people who support Israel, where you have him just straightforwardly defending a bunch of fascist rioters, and then the very, like, the previous article, is this. This guy and other writers at this site ran as Brexit candidates in the last election. Dude, wait, real? Hold on. That would explain so much why he would go with a title like Ireland and the Fury of the Cancelled. This is such a 2007-ass Sargon of Akkad YouTube video title. Actually, the reason the men did this was because feminism had made it so they were cancelled for their normal beliefs. Once a Trotskyist, O'Neill was formerly a member of the Revolutionary Communist Party and wrote for the party's journal Living Marxism. Spectacular. Well, you know how those Trotskyists are. Dude, he's literally like 2016 YouTube. O'Neill has said that he views the success of gay liberation movements in the 20th century as a wonderful gain for humanity, which has transformed people's lives for the better. He's also characterized the increasing dogmatism of LGBT organizations and their corporate sponsors as a form of queer imperialism. Motherfucker is literally like, I think that people being allowed to be gay is a good thing, but also I think trying to free gay people in other countries is actually tyranny. Just like, it's the exact same. That's incredible. O'Neill considers efforts to combat racism in football to be a, quote, class war driven by the elite's utter incomprehension of the mass passions that get aired at football matches. Referring to high-profile cases of racial abuse and alleged racial abuse, he argued these incidents are not racism at all in the true meaning of the word. He described anti-racism as a, quote, a pretty poisonous desire to police the working class. All right. Actually, by saying we can't be racist, that's actually classism. Dude, he's like he's like a true Trotskyist. He's really weaponizing his limited understanding of pseudo-leftist politics. Called Black Lives Matter virtue signaling nonsense. Oh my! I bet he sounds like Sargon too. We have to listen to a video of him. Pro-Brexit, of course. So wait, did he or did he not run with the Brexit party? Because someone in chat said he did. I'll be very disappointed if I find out that he didn't. I don't think he did. I think you lied. Yeah, UKIP. I think you lied. I gotta listen to his voice. I already have it in my head. It's a very, very unflattering, uncharitable mental impression. Okay, I looked up his name in YouTube, and the very first thing that popped up is, quote, "We need to talk about her penis. Brendan O'Neill. Are trans activists fighting for freedom or to increase authoritarianism?" The principal belief of people like this, like the main tendency of them, is that they're too stupid and weak and cowardly and spineless to own the fact that they're reactionary. So what they'll do is they'll be theoretically in favor of progressive politics, but then they'll be like, okay, but any actual effort to push for progressive politics is tyranny. This was like very common, where it wasn't socially acceptable to admit that you just don't like progressivism. So they would always pretend to be progressive, like how Sargon of Akkad would say he believed in feminism and equal rights, but feminism had gone too far because it was like forcing men to sit down weird in subway cars or whatever. What does he sound like on Reason TV?
Why do you open a heretics manifesto?
Because I don't see the trans issue as...
He sounds just like Sargon. Maybe this is my like British racism kicking in, but holy shit, he sounds just like him.
Issue of freedom. And I think there's a number of reasons I would say that. The first is, if this is a civil rights movement, if this is a movement for greater liberty, which is how it's often presented,
right,
why does it feel so authoritarian?
God, dude, they're like living stereotypes. Oh my God. Exactly what I said. Again, they're reactionary, but they're too weak-willed to just admit it, so they'll always do this like, I'm progressive, but why have progressives gone too far? Like, oh, dude. They're all the same guy. It's so tedious. He kind of looks like Sargon too. Well, they're both guys who grow beards because they're ashamed of their jawlines. I say, throwing stones from my house made of stones. Yeah, here they are endorsing the, yeah, the Brexit party is the earthquake British politics need. Yep, again, exact same thing, always. It's not just, hey, this is the politics I believe in. It's, you know, the establishment is right to be terrified by this diverse, dynamic new part. Yeah, dude, UKIP really knocked the socks off the British electorate. You know, Parliament is still recovering from that one. Brexit and everything associated with it has definitely, you know, produced a long, proud political tradition that people like to associate themselves with. No shot, they're funded by the Cobras. How U.S. billionaires are fueling the hard right cause in Britain. The Spike magazine U.S. funding arm received $300K from the Charles Koch Foundation, suggesting a hidden agenda. Like I've said, guys, basically every conservative pundit and organization and even YouTuber is taking money and being told what to say. It's not that they're not retarded. They are also authentically retarded, and a lot of them do a lot of work to convince themselves that they're not just bought and paid for shills, but they also get paid a lot of money to do what they do and say what they say. Authenticity has very little to do with it. Yeah. All right. So we have a funded, 82 IQ, and that's charitable guy, who talks and acts exactly like every other person like him. This is a 20-minute video, and I skipped to a point where he said, if the trans movement's about freedom, why is it authoritarian? That was the random point that I skipped to. That I didn't know it was going to be there. I didn't know I would just happen upon a picture perfect, like, self-mockery like that. You know, that was circumstance. He just says that on loop for 3 hours. Yeah. He makes it easy for me. It's the only thing he says. They say openly that they fund the magazine to LARP as trots, but push right-wing shite. Oh, really? Oh, well, that's pretty straightforward. The organization the Charles Koch Foundation has chosen to fund is at first sight astounding, a U.S. org established by an obscure UK-based magazine run by former members of a tiny Trotskyite splinter group. Some of its core contributors still describe themselves as Marxists or Bolshevists. The harder you look at it, the more sense the code donations appear to make. The name of the magazine is spiked. The enthusiasm for Trotsky is highly selective. It's just good to remember that our enemies are evil and shiftless and cowardly and stupid, and they're also shills who have no real beliefs. It's important to remember that the fascists are weak, crumbling, proto-humans. They're made of jelly. Physiologically, they're made of jelly. You can flick them and their whole bodies just kind of wiggle. They're translucent and strong light. We're flesh and blood human beings. Very important. Always know this. Never forget. Just like 9/11.